Hey guys, it's Sam with Spieler Custom Baits, and today we're going to be doing an orange crappie jig with a little bit of a green body to it. We're going to start off with a 1/16 ounce number 2 jig. I had casted these and powder coated about a month ago. And once we get that settled in our vise, we're going to go ahead and grab a little adhesive and put it on the shank of the hook just to ensure that we have good contact with the thread. And today I'm using a 120 denier orange thread. We're just going to start that right on by the head of the jig and take that all the way down to about the hook point. Clean up the excess, and we're going to go ahead and cut off our tag end. And today we're going to be using an orange marabou. We're going to be using 2 of the feathers, and we're only going to be using the tips of the feathers. I find that the tips of the feathers in these smaller jigs seems to get the kind of action that I'm looking for. It's a little more stiff than your actual marabou jig, and thus keeps kind of that stiffer action towards the back end, as stiff as you can get with marabou feather. So we're going to go ahead and take this marabou feather after cleaning it up, and we're going to go ahead and tie that in. Kind of arranging it where I want it. And we're going to cut off that little piece right there. And we're going to bring that thread all the way back up, locking that in place. And that's before we add this second one. Then we're going to grab our second orange marabou, and we're going to clean it to the tip. And then once we have that tip cleaned off, we're going to go ahead and kind of measure it in so that it measures out with the one that we have placed in. And then we're going to go ahead, tie that in, and move it into the position that we want it. I want the top one to lay a little bit flat just to keep the other one, which is a little bit fluffier, kind of patted down. Cut off the excess. Then we're going to clean that up just a little bit. Now once we have that clean, we're going to go ahead and grab our chenille. Today I'm using a crystal flash chenille in Chartreuse green. And we're going to pinch a little bit off the end just to expose the thread so that we get a good lockdown on those first couple wraps. And then we're going to go ahead and tie that in to the body of the jig. And bring our thread back up to the front. Now we're going to start using this with nice even wraps. With this crystal flash, it's real important that you brush it back after each time that you make a rotation. And you can use a brush, or like me, you can use your fingers. And what it does is it keeps those filaments kind of fluffed back. So as you're coming back with your thread, you're not tying those back down to the body. And it really gives it a better, fuller body figure. Once we have that where we want it, we're going to go ahead, do a couple of wraps over the chenille, and then a couple wraps on the other side. I usually like to do this at least twice, just to make sure that it's locked in there and won't come out due to slippage. Now we're going to go ahead and cut our chenille. Alright, once that's cut, we're going to go ahead and build up that collar a little bit, just making sure that everything's locked in, and also giving a surface area so that when we come back and put some adhesive on it to lock it in. And we're going to whip finish this a couple of times. When building that up, you always want to take into account that you're going to be placing a whip finish over the head of the jig, so it will build up that collar a little bit. So you want to leave yourself just a little bit of space there. Alright, now that that's tied in, we're going to go ahead and clip our thread. And we're going to come back. I'm just using a safety pin here to add some adhesive to the collar of that jig. I find that it's really important, especially with this crystal chenille and fluffier chenilles, that you want to use something to applicate the adhesive with. That's because it has a tendency to build back on those body types and to wick back, and then it'll harden all of the body type around the head of the jig. Alright, and now that we have our jig finished, we'll go ahead and pull it out. And we're going to make sure that we get a couple of good shots of it, just so that you guys can see. See if I get the camera good on it. Let's try this again. These jigs are great for crappie. Rotate it around so you can get it close over the other side. And rotate it so that you can see it from the front. And from the back. Thank you guys again for watching.